Hey everybody. So just wrapped up the third trail stop for the Hobie Bass Open here in North Carolina on Lake Norman. So, last year I did tournament recaps on about 80% of my tournaments. I didn't do the first three of this year because I didn't have my equipment ready and kind of was just falling behind on a lot of things. But I did record most everything from this one. Got a really good recap coming up. So let's kind of dive into that. Coming up to Lake Norman, I had never been here. I heard that it was a dock-oriented lake with a lot of spots. Let's take a look here quickly at a map of Lake Norman. As you all know, I do a lot of map study prior to going into these tournaments, and we'll kind of see why I chose the area I did, kind of my strategy behind it, and what I was looking for in this event.
Okay, so looking at Lake Norman, pretty intimidating, right? It's huge. There are all these creeks here. I wanted to kind of simplify this with my limited practice. This looks like a Chinese dragon. So I decided to choose a section of the lake that I'm very comfortable with, which would be up in the river. So let's kind of go in here and I'll show you what I was looking at. Now, the furthest north ramp you could launch from was here, which meant I would have a lot of miles to cover. But what I was honing in on, what I typically hone in on, these little backwater sloughs. I knew the lake was down a little bit, but I thought, man, this might look kind of good in here. It looked like I might be able to access that. This caught my eye, and this actually ended up being huge for me on day two. A lot of trees here in the middle of that slough. Looks like a deeper bank here. Bass boat there, always a good indicator, right? So I just went upriver on Google Earth with that deep feeder creek there with two shallow pockets on either side, bridge, whole long rip rap wall. I mean, come on, plenty of stuff. Not to mention all of the main river opportunities there. So I started looking around here, went all the way up. Our boundary was here, and I looked at this creek right here. Noticed a lot of laydowns in this creek. Another bridge here, a bunch of docks, a little private area here looked kind of interesting. So that is where I decided to do. Suits my style, and all my eggs were going to be put in the river basket.
I was dead set on fishing up in the river. That suits a lot of my strengths, a lot of my styles. And so Thursday morning, I decided to go upriver. I kicked 5 miles up to the mouth of one of those creeks, caught my personal best spot. There was a ton of current. I grabbed a huge school of spots at 3 different mouths of creeks and pockets. They were staging right there at the mouths of them on those current breaks and those eddies right there. So I knew there was a ton of easy fish on the main river. Going into one of those main feeder creeks, I caught a 20.5-inch largemouth, an 18-inch largemouth, buried a stick bait, skipped it around some of the laydowns, and watched my line swim away 4 or 5 different times, indicating that there were more fish in that creek. So in my mind, I saw everything I needed to see. Even if they weren't pulling current on the weekend, which I heard they typically don't, I thought, I have enough in this creek to get the bites to win this thing. I wanted to target largemouth over spots, and so I was going to live or die by that. So come Friday, I spent the entire day off the water, kind of recuperating. I didn't get out and practice, which hindsight, that probably wasn't such a good thing. But it was really nice to have a full day to get my gear kind of organized, rest. I had put on about 15 miles on Thursday, so I was exhausted. I ate well, I slept well, got all my gear ready, and I was like, man, this feels really good to find fish the first day of practice. So in my mind, I had a pretty solid game plan, and let's go into day 1 on the water and kind of see how that went for me.
All right, guys, it is day 1 of the Hobie Bass Open tournament on Lake Norman. There's only one other person here at the ramp. I figured I had this area pretty much to myself. I'm fishing way up river. I only fished 1 day in practice, found what I needed. I found some big spots on current breaks and sandbars. And if they're not pulling current, which I
not going to bank on that they're going to. I've got big largemouths in the pockets, sloughs, and creeks. So we're going to give it all I have, go for those 5 big bites, and see where this puts us. So this one, I need the AOI points. I'm not going to cash a check. I'm going to win this thing. So I'm going to put all my eggs in this basket. I've got a 2-hour kick upriver. Let's see how this goes.
All right, so I got super skinny for this tournament. Cut my terminal tackle in half. Cut my rods in half. No plastic under my seat. Nothing in my front hatch, because I tried to take as little gear as possible to make it easier to make that long kick upriver. And we'll see if the simplicity pans out. Legal first cast, so I got to make just a couple casts. Take a little break here. Man, look at that sunrise. Ended up, there was a guy that launched at my ramp last minute. Found out he was going to that bridge right there. That was my starting spot to get a quick limit. I went ahead and let him have it. I might regret that, but I hope good karma's on my side. One more cast and I gotta roll. All right, I gotta keep moving. So that's not a great. I knew that was gonna be the case though. There is absolutely no current. That's gonna hurt this first little sandbar where I had a big school of spots. No current. Not even a ripple. That ain't good. You know what though? That's okay. Gotta stay positive. Yeah. I'm not gonna fish a moving bait. No current means we might have to get a little desperate. Throw that finesse TRD. So there's a sandbar out here with a really good current break and had some giant spots. Gonna see what we can do. That's gonna be tough without the current, but something on a little round ball with a little baby swim bait right now. A little 3-inch swim bait. Try hitting them from a different angle. Sometimes that makes a little difference in the world. Well, so this is the reason I came up here. Big largemouth. Might as well just cut to the chase. And so I took the Ned rig off. We're gonna go weightless Texas rig stick bait and finesse jig, light shaky head, and a real light Texas rig as well. There's a specific area that I really like. It's got a good cut bank, good for if you can make a good cast. Had the right bites along this bank. We'll see. Side scan fish. That's a nice spot. 19-inch spot. That was a side scan fish. So it looked like there were 2 there. Brand new line with this metanium. See, even people that fish all the time have that. Oh yeah, there's big spots right there. Look at my side scan. It's crazy. I didn't think I'd find spots back here. This has been my big largemouth hole. Where there's one spot, there's more. So when you catch largemouth, I probably wouldn't do that. But these spots, when you catch one, you're probably going to catch a couple more. Yep, there's a school of them right there. That one feels a little better. Yeah, a little better. That's the school right there, boys. 16 1/4. There's 3. I saw about 5 or 6 on my side scan. We'll see if 2 of them looked like they were big. See if I can pull just a couple more out of here. That was a freaking perfect cast. Oh, I can't keep up with that one. Dang it. Let me stand up. Really nice spot. Oh, get on the net. All right, there's 4. When I get the limit that I want, I can start kind of methodically picking this apart. To be honest though, I don't know if I want to do that. Part of me thinks I'm gonna need this area. So I went from 8 foot to 3, 3.5, 2.5. Big largemouth are up shallow like they have been. I know there's a fish there. Yep, there's a school.
So, surprisingly enough, I didn't catch a single largemouth in that creek. I had heard there were 2 bass boats that went in there. There were 2 tournaments, I believe, that went out, and one of them I overheard saying caught several 4 to 5 pound largemouth in that creek on Friday. So, assuming they were probably resident fish, maybe that pressure, put a hurting on them, and they just got smart, or they just didn't want to eat on Saturday. But I really felt pretty fortunate for that big school of spots that was on that particular section of the creek right there. That honestly kind of saved me. So after day 1, kind of a cool deal. Ended up double dipping in the local Queen City Kayak Fishing Club that went on. They had 132 anglers, and it was your best 4 fish on day 1. And I ended up, my 4 from day 1 were good enough to land me 13th place, I believe, out of the 132, and cash me my 2nd check in a row for the season. So that was pretty exciting. That gave me a little bit of momentum going into day 2 of the Hobie Bass Open tournament on Norman. Going into day 2, I didn't have any type of a backup, and I laid on that spot really hard. And I knew that. However, I figured my largemouth might show up. I thought they might pull a little current, so I may be able to get on a little bit of a main river channel bite like I had in practice. Let's go see how that went for day 2.
All right, guys. Day 2 of the tournament. I'm exhausted. I leaned on my creek, and the mouth of the creek, and down below on my riprap pretty hard. I honestly, this is all I have, so I gotta live and die by it. I know that main lake bite's pretty consistent, so I'm gonna have to pull something pretty spectacular here to stay in it. I know there are big spots. I'm not sure about the big largemouth. I'm just gonna try to quiet my mind and go fishing, because that's about the best thing you can do in this situation. So I got about 10 minutes till I can launch. I don't see the other kayaker here, so I might be able to fish my first spot that I didn't get to fish yesterday. We'll see. Here goes nothing, y'all.
So day 2, started off, it was supposed to rain, so I didn't have my microphone. I didn't put my microphone on my GoPro because I've ruined several of those lapel mics with water and rain. So I'll just kind of take you through, this is gonna be pretty short and simple on how my day 2 went. I went right to the railroad bridge. I let the competitor that launched with me have it on day 1, but I went just to kind of check and see if that school was there, try to get a quick few fish. Ended up catching one right off the bat, and that I threw back probably a 12, 13 incher because I didn't think I'd need it. That ended up really costing me. After that, went up to that spot in the river. Sure enough, first thing, big bite, missed it. And that was pretty discouraging. I knew that was probably a big spot just by the way that it hit. Ended up putting a wacky rig on, getting my first fish, about a 14 and a half. And then after that, for hours, it was missed fish after missed fish after missed fish. It was just one of those days where it didn't seem like anything could go your way. It was pretty discouraging. It was about 1:30. I had one fish, and I said, you know, I had went, flipped some docks, lost some more fish on a brush pile. But the thing that I can kind of take away from this, I remained really positive. I had a good attitude about it. Last minute, after my GoPro died, it was probably about 2:15 in the afternoon. GoPro died, wasn't catching fish, so I didn't even worry about putting another battery in. I picked up my spinnerbait rod and went into one slough that I hadn't been into at all in practice or in the tournament. And it was a super shallow slough. Looking on Google Earth, I had noticed it immediately and wanted to go in there, but when I went out on Thursday, there was one kayaker there. So I completely bypassed it, went way upriver. Well, I ended up hitting that on the way back down, and I was skipping a spinnerbait right up on the bank, and in 15 minutes, I caught 3 largemouth, the biggest being 19 inches. So there, bam, 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 I've got 4 fish total, 1 fish shy of that limit. And I thought, okay, this is gonna happen right now. I can salvage this, I can still come in, cash a check, even after all those missed opportunities. And then it didn't happen. I lost 1 more fish at about 2:55, and then I caught an 11.5-inch fish at 2:59. And we have to have a 12-inch fish to be the minimum to score. So that tournament definitely had what I thought to be a really good game plan. I went way upriver. I knew I went far enough away that I shouldn't have any company, and I knew the lake would be really pressured, and it was, but it was really tough to beat that main lake, that south mid-lake bite. A lot of guys caught a ton of fish, a lot of big spots, a lot of big largemouth were caught. Despite my pretty terrible day 2 performance, I learned a lot about Norman. That just goes to show that when we think we've got everything figured out and we've got a game plan, the fish will tell you something different come tournament day. That's really good to get that experience, and most importantly, just remember that we are fortunate to be able to be out there on the water doing what we love, regardless if we're cashing checks or if we're getting on the stage. I wanted to share this one, even though it wasn't one with me holding the big check. It was a kind of a tough tournament. I think it's important to show the good, the bad, the struggles, and kind of get so you guys can see my mindset when I'm on the water, why I make the decisions I make, and what worked, what didn't work, and hopefully learn something from this. I'll be doing a video shortly about my tournament kayak setup, how I rig it, how I store my gear, because I take a ton of stuff with me, and my camera mount setup, because I know a lot of you guys have been asking, and I promise I'll get to that here within the next few days or so. So I hope everybody is able to find some peace and quiet and stay healthy with all the chaos that's going on. I appreciate y'all watching, and we'll catch you next time.